The squad's efforts now turn to the next chapter in the tank's history, the Gulf War. On the 2nd of August 1990, Iraqi forces invaded the oil-rich state of Kuwait. The United States amassed an army from 39 countries around the world to repel the Iraqis. Of the 3,000 tanks used in the operation, our Centurion must surely have been the oldest. It was used by the Royal Engineers to breach the formidable Iraqi defences along the Kuwaiti border. To protect it from modern weaponry, the 40-year-old tank was fitted with an additional layer of top-secret reactive armour.
I've got some photos in the back of this. Should give us some idea on what the armour looked like. Now, they only sent 12 or 13 of these Avries out to the Gulf, and they were a siege tank, probably intended to take Baghdad.
What does it actually do, reactive armour?
It gives you a second chance. If you got hit by some sort of powerful anti-tank weapon, there's a chance it would damage the armour and the tank would survive, and you could replace the panel of armour and get away with it.
When our Centurion was built, it relied simply on the thickness of its steel plate for protection. But by the 1970s, a new and far more deadly weapon started to emerge. These armour-piercing weapons have become increasingly sophisticated and can now be launched by a single soldier a distance of 3 miles. Reactive armour has been designed to give some protection from these ruthlessly efficient weapons. The tip of the shell contains a specially shaped high explosive charge that forms a jet of incredibly high temperature metal that can bore through virtually any thickness of armour. The reactive armour explodes when hit by one of these shells, deflecting the deadly armour-piercing jet. The Army have a policy of not selling its top-secret armour to ex-butchers, so Claire is going to have to make a replica. All she has to go on are some old photos and a tape measure. The replica armour will be made from 3/4-inch steel plate, which can't be cut in the middle of a field. So Claire cuts out a cardboard version of the armour as a pattern for a local engineering firm. The armour must fit like a second skin around the complex shapes of the turret. If Claire's measurements are out by more than a few millimetres, it won't fit. While Claire gets stuck into some precision engineering, Axel decides it's time to get physical and fits the bulldozer blade.
Where did I see that massive crowbar?
The blade has to be fitted to 6 hydraulic arms. Thick steel pins hold the dozer blade in place.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it looks the part, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, smashing.
Nice one, mate.
The bulldozer blade is on. Claire's taken her template and drawings to a local engineering firm to get them made up in thick steel plate. Finally, Jerry washes down the tank to get it ready for painting the next day. Day 10 of the restoration, and the squad are still wrestling with the rust.
What about the futility of war, the futility of rubbing down bits of tank?
You know what this is, don't you, about its rust? It's the document case, the map case from the back.
No maps in it.
There's some rubbish. This is a letter. This is P. Foster. HM Forces Gulf War.
This is your actual Gulf War letter?
Yeah, yeah. It's from Captain Foster to Mrs. Foster. 6th Troop, 32 Army Engineering Regiment, and it's got one of their funny postcodes on it. That's your man, isn't it?
That's your
the
man.
man who knows that tank inside out, I bet.
What, you got on, falling over it?
Letter found in the tank
No.
to Mrs. Foster, HMS Forces Gulf.
No.
Oh, you didn't read it, did you? Right.
No.
What do you think we should do with this then?
You got some information,
We've got a name.
and it's the
Yep.
Gulf War, so it's just leading on the story from
On
the
from-
photographs you found.
Superb. I'll see you later.
I was off to track down Corporal Foster. Meanwhile, Claire returns from the machine shop.
We've got this construction back from the machine shop, which they've made from my terrible cardboard patterns, and we're just going to see if it fits.
The colossal suit of armour has been tailor-made for the tank. The armour, which weighs as much as a small family car, has been designed to fit the tank precisely. An error of just a few millimetres, and we've got problems.
We don't want to scratch the paintwork.
No.
Go that way a little bit.
Oh,
I think it looks marvellous.
it's not bad. It's not
But
bad
then
at
I'm
all.
bound to say that.
She's knocked a bit on the bin at the back there. The other side is exactly the same as this side, isn't it? Where it's catching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully symmetrically wrong.
Not wrong. Just. Yeah. We'll take it back to the machine shop and take that little extra back off, and give her a lick of paint.
Claire puts a brave face on it, but the squad are now falling badly behind. With only 2 days to go, the replica armour is taken back to the machine shop. This time there can be no mistakes. Claire goes through the changes with Julian, the machinist.
It was a good fit.
Well, it looks nice.
It was a good fit. Just a couple of things. Just a couple of things. This edge here, it clipped the bin boxes on the sides.
Gotcha.
So I didn't quite get that right.
As the armour gets a few final adjustments, Jerry paints the last of the bin boxes. It's now time to refit them all back in the turret.
We have the new drawing on it.
Look. Why don't you get in the tank,
All right.
crank up your computer, and I'll
Right.
just chuck bits in at random to you.
You chuck bits in me
Yeah?
at random, okay.
Here you go, Axel. First thing.
Thank you, Claire. Right.
Axel took loads of digital pictures of the inside of the tank.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at where this first box is coming up.
They're now downloaded onto his laptop. He reckons this will show him exactly where all the boxes go. Claire has her doubts.
Somewhere. 3 boxes and a long bit at the end, yeah. Excellent. You're going to be all right there. Goes next to it there.
After 8 days of removing rust, Jerry sprays 25 gallons of the Army's finest sand-coloured paint all over the tank.
Go on, Axel, just fit one more bit.
It's in. Only about 6,000 pieces to go. Claire, I haven't got any more room. Honestly.
Wait, what about this bit?
That bit is nowhere to be seen. How can you lose a bit that big?
On the last day of the restoration, I returned to see what the squad were up to. With just a few hours left, the armour is back from the machine shop.
Here we go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
With the light beginning to fade, the replica armour is manoeuvred into position.
Right, are you ready? Yeah. Right, a little bit more.
If it doesn't fit this time, the squad will never make it to the show.
That'll do.
It fits.
The tank has been transformed. Claire's replica armour looks just like the real thing, and most importantly, it fits. With time now running out, the squad rush to fit all the last bits and pieces. A new driver's seat, 4 periscopes to give the commander all-round visibility. Pickaxes, a smoke discharger, a crowbar, 1 last spray of paint, and a machine gun. So the tank is finally ready for the show, but there's one last thing to test out. Is it a runner? Nick sparks up the mighty Meteor engine. Guided by Claire, Nick reverses the lumbering beast onto the test track.
Now that's
Hey, Newton.
The tank's going well, and the squad are itching for a drive.
27 litres at full bore.
Nick wants to find out if any of the squad are good enough to drive the tank during the show. Time for a competition.
That is scary.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Claire draws the short straw and gets the first run.
Into gear.
Yes.
I'm doing this for women drivers everywhere.
Not that much. No. Yeah, that way. That way, that one. Yeah, no, slow down.
Oh, where you've stalled it! Wait,
No, she's gone.
Right, never mind. All you got to do, put your foot on the clutch.
Claire stalls, but soon gets the beast back under control. With its heavy manual gearbox and no power steering, the Iron Giant must be wrestled around the course. Next up, Jerry.
I can't get in. No, I really can't get in. I
your
can't,
turn,
can't
Axel.
bend.
Yes? No? I think that's a refusal at the first gate.
all right, I'll have a go.
Finally, it's Axel.
Now, that's it, lovely. Just keep it like that, chugging along well.
I hitch a ride in the commander's seat. Axel's going well, but he can't get it out of second gear, and he's still nowhere near the tank's top speed of 22 miles per hour. A faultless round, surely something to do with my directions.
I knew you'd do it.
Good drive, man.
After 2 weeks of scraping, banging and painting, and some clever electronics, our 50-year-old Centurion is up and running and ready for the show.